Let's get this going underway. Kind of a rough morning. Jeez. Let's see if we can get this week started off the right way. Chris Gordon here, New Pragmatic. Just a little bit of the pre-show. Watching for the ye old couch bot to fire. Standing today, mainly because I got some room to roam around. I kind of like having the ability to kind of walk around my space. So let me know if I prowl around too much. As we get this week started, I want to call some attention to some few different things that I've been releasing for the career mode. For those of you that are watching along that aren't quite ready to be applying for jobs, and just know that there's a far more expansive set of career guidance material that I've been cobbling together basically over the last couple of months, and that material is if you go to newpragmatic.com/career, you'll find I think we're up to like 14 exercises that are pretty much focused on just preparing you for the job hunt ahead. Part of that is portfolio based, so I may end up breaking that up, to be completely honest with you. It may end up being a couple of different modules. I may split it up into like portfolio and then career. Right now it's all together, but for some of you, you may already have a portfolio, so it wouldn't make sense. I could see where it would be kind of confusing, like, oh, hey, I have a portfolio, this isn't really for me. But actually, just feel free to skip around in there, because if you've got a portfolio but you haven't optimized your LinkedIn, or if you've optimized your LinkedIn but you haven't really thought about how your resume is crafted, there's all sorts of different material in there. And the thing that I was releasing over the weekend was a update for the job tracker. The job tracker released that earlier this year, and there's a video for it, and there's some material out there, but I've never actually sat down and said, do these things in this order, and I want to definitely codify that. Additionally, been working on some stuff for interview prep, and one of the things that's crucial, I should back that up, because I may end up clipping this out, because this bit is a bit of fire. So one of the things that's really crucial when you're preparing to embark on your job search is knowing how to answer this one question: how much are you expecting to make at your next role, at your next job, in your next role? And a lot of people lock up on that. Do I tell them what I make now? Do I tell them what I want to make? Do I tell them a little less, so maybe I better position myself? You can make arguments for each of these, okay? And actually, I can't tell you what you should say at that point. What I can say, what I will say, is that you should do everything you can to know what people make that do that job at basically your skill level. And there are a few different sites that you can use to do that. So the first of these sites that I want to focus on is called PayScale. PayScale, it's a two-sided economy here. Basically, one side of it is how much should I as an employer pay you, and I can go kind of explain what I'm wanting to do and get an idea of the job of what I should pay. And the other side of it is what am I worth as somebody coming into the market and wondering, okay, I'm a UX designer with 5 years and I'm in, say, New York. Maybe I've never been in New York before, or maybe I'm working for a company in New York. I'm working remotely from, say, I don't know, Atlanta, and I want to know what that market typically produces. You can get the pay report right here. But it's more than just this PayScale. Like, PayScale is one site that does this, and you can go in and get your report for free here. The trade-off here, and why they make it so easy for you to get the report for free, is the more data in, the better their product is. So they will ask you, okay, what do you make, and where do you currently work at, and they'll ask you all that data. It's all anonymized, so you don't have to worry about somebody pulling your specific data up out of the platform, because it never asks for your name or anything like that. But that helps them build out the database. Same thing for a site like Glassdoor, which has this know your worth calculator. And this works in the same way as PayScale. The variance you may find between a PayScale.com and a Glassdoor.com is simply in the number of people that have filled out the survey that says, I do X job and I make X amount, from one site to the next. So these two sites, and I'll throw in LinkedIn salaries as well, these sites are all basically crowd-based, crowdsourced data that's coming in. And a site like LinkedIn, you can imagine they have a lot of people who are powering this database, and it gives you a really good sense of what somebody might make in, say, UX design. So I'll put in UX design here. If I could spell design, I'll put in UX designer right here. We'll say United States. We'll start with United States, and then I want to change this around just a bit. So in the United States, the median UX salary is $80,000. But that can shift greatly. You can see right up here, salaries, the range from 95 to 144 in Seattle, Washington, working at Microsoft. Then you go all the way down, $52,000 to $59,000 for a UX designer. And I don't necessarily know where that is, but I'm going to guess it's probably in Memphis. If I go to Memphis, Tennessee, let's see. And the Memphis, Tennessee salary range is 44 to 96 with a median of 65. So that lowest level was not, in fact, Memphis, Tennessee. Somewhere else has that $50,000 range. Now, if we go over here, we've seen Seattle. Let's go to Austin real fast. Austin, Texas, 83. So Austin, Texas is a little over the median, and Memphis is far under. You can, if you make your way down to, let's say, Miami. See, Miami's really low. And that's shocking because Miami's a somewhat expensive place to live. If we go to Boston, 85. So Boston more than Austin, Austin more than Miami, Miami more than Memphis. You get an idea of what the possibilities are. And you also get to see, like, okay, who would I be possibly working for in the greater Boston area? And you can see, like, working at Infosys as a UX designer, 66. Working at Amazon as a UX designer in Boston, 91. It's a pretty wide range. Pretty wide range. But using a salary calculator like this can give you a much better sense of what you can ask for when you're having those conversations with, and typically these conversations happen with the phone screen. Like the phone screen, they'll put you on with a recruiter, and the recruiter's going to ask you these questions, and they just want to see if there's anything that will disqualify you from moving forward. And if you ask for some sort of exorbitant salary, that'll probably put you on the sideline, because they'll say, listen, we're never going to be able to meet up. That's not within the range of what we're willing to pay. If I've got to ask you to lower your expectations by 50%, that's not likely to happen. So we're just going to part ways now. Okay. Equally, if you come in on the low side, that's bad too. Okay. Because if you come in on the low side, they're like, oh, well, I don't have to offer you more than 60 because you just asked for 60. I was willing to pay 85, but if all you're going to ask for is 60, sure, I'll just write that in the notes. Seems like a win for everybody. You're happy but you're not, because you asked for too little. You can't negotiate up, okay? That's the thing I need you to remember. You can't negotiate up. And that's why you need to know this number. All right? And we talk about a lot of things in the program. We talk about a lot of different aspects of design. But knowing how to answer this question can make or break you. It can set you back years on salary growth just by missing this one question. So hop into these 3 sites. They'll be linked in the video below, and I think that you'll be well on your way to being better prepared for that interview phase if you know what you're worth. All right, folks. So I just wanted to jump in there on that. I realized that went a bit long, but hey, the more we talk about salaries and what you should be making, what you should be expecting to make, and the more comfortable we get talking about money, honestly, folks, I hate talking about money, right? I'm uncomfortable with it, but you just have to do it. You have to practice it. And I think once you do that, you'll be better off. But let's go ahead and jump on in because we've got a number of things to jump into, and then Abby is like sitting right there at the top of the hour waiting on me. So let's do this. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatics. Time for the feedback loop. We have Luigi, Maddie, and who else do we have here? I know we've got Luigi, we've got Maddie. We also have Bren. And Bren, I got to tell you, new student, crushing it, made it all the way through Intro to Product Design basically in a weekend. So really pushing forward. I'm going to dabble at those questions in just a bit, but let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and let's get this underway. All right. So first things first, we're going to start with Luigi, and Luigi has his AI for Good simulator project, and it looks like here these are initial wireframes for login process and data uploader screens needed to run the simulation. More work needs to be done to simulate results. All right, that's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead, and by the way, anytime you see me hide the tools, it is command pipe or command backslash right underneath the delete keys. So if you're ever trying to do that in Figma, just know that. I had somebody ask me that the other day. How do you do that thing? So this is just a basic wireframe, kind of explaining what's going on. The solution. It looks like you've actually got some content here, which is nice. So you're talking about the different models, which we've talked about this. I'm not sure if there is a third model, to be honest with you. I think that there's compartmental and agent based, which is what you had mentioned before, but kind of setting people up to understand what to expect, I think, is a good idea. You've got a login here, which super simple. Log into account, email, password. Forgot password, so I kind of have a sense of how you might go through that. Must be sign up. Okay, yeah, sign up. That all makes sense. Spacing's a little off here, but I mean, this is just a wireframe. The other thing to keep in mind is what happens if they don't, and what error validation. Like if I did not enter a accurate email and went on to the next field, like what would that error message be? It's minor stuff. The thing I'm interested in, based on our prior conversations, is this. COVID-19 simulator, fill in the following fields to provide data in order to run the simulation. So you've got a stepper. It says, okay, this is going to be 4 steps to get this information in. Okay, so this tool is for informational research purposes only and should not be considered a medical predictor. The parameters information you have provided is a determining factor in the simulation results. Okay, so you're asking specific questions. You got the next button here. I do wonder if should this be larger and to the side so that it calls attention to itself? I'm not sure. So I'm just kind of going through getting a sense of, trying to get a sense of how many screens this is. Okay, so this is part 2. So age distribution. Interesting. Okay. So that's age distribution. This is... So this is basically like a survey collection form. And I'm guessing that I'm trying to determine what, if anything is anything required, or is it all just I could I leave the entire thing blank and submit it? I don't necessarily know. It seems like there should be some form of, there should be some number of things that's required. So I guess, Luigi, what I don't know right away is, like, what are the required fields? Are they all required? It seems like there's got to be some required fields and there are some optional fields, and I'm not seeing them right now. So that would be my first issue. Oh, this is kind of interesting. So this is your dashboard. This is the empty dashboard. So I've signed in. I've created my account. It looks like this may have, did that just magically appear? Interesting. I'm not completely sure. But you've signed in. I'm not sure what's happening over here, but I'm guessing I just have a empty dashboard. I'm not sure that I would have this nav appear on the dashboard. I mean, if this is the dashboard. But let's see, the simulator is a web tool. Tools possible. Okay. Yeah, I think the big thing that I'm missing right now is just, like, what are the required fields? Am I calling enough attention to this disclaimer? I do believe that. So enter the, yeah, like, so I think you should be calling attention to this must equal 100%. Like, there should be, like, some sort of asterisk or something there. And this is getting quite long, so I'm beginning to wonder, like, do I go sideways with it to get all the fields up and above? I don't necessarily think that you do want to do that, but I do like the stepper. I mainly want to know what the required fields are, and if I can get the required fields, and I know this is like what's spitting out the other side right now, so I'm not going to get too much into that. But if I think the big missing piece here is, like, what are the required fields, and how do you indicate to people what, because they won't all have all the information that you're giving options for here. I'm pretty certain, based on the prior conversations that we've had. So you have to indicate for them, like, I need these basic fields. Everything else is optional, and move forward. And one of those required fields that seems pretty obvious is the fact that this has got to equal up to 100%, which seems like age distribution is just required. Like, you've got to, and I'm guessing this is not this is not, like, exact, because, I mean, unless they've done the calculations, they're basically just guessing. I think 10% or 0 to 9. I just don't know. So required fields, I would focus my attention there. That's gonna make the rest of it hum. But as far as, like, required fields and error validation, and that, so much of this is form. and we've talked about this. There's two things that push the internet around. One of those things is just consumption, and it's like the display of data. But the other thing is the input of data, and this is a big input of data. Also, one other thing that I would have thought that I would have seen is got the simulator. Is there any way that I could just upload a spreadsheet of my data? Like, do I have to like do these parameters? Like, I'm certain like if I don't have my spreadsheet of data and I'm just gonna plug in my data, that's fine. But it seems like I would either get started or upload a CSV, like comma separated values. So it's one of those two things, and right now I'm only seeing the thing that says I'm going to manually update. So think about that. Okay. Let's move over to Maddie. Maddie's got her. So Maddie's been working on this deck, and this deck is basically acting as if it's a in-depth case study. Okay. And I think that this is fine. It's all about work. I really believe that when you're beginning to work through your resume and your portfolio rebuilds, it's all about meeting you where you're at. And Maddie kind of had this deck started already, so we're gonna roll through this. So right now it says Marta Feinweiger, and I'm terrible with last names, so kill me later, Maddie. So Select It Works. You've got Burt's Bees, you've got Gerber. I love the design work here. I always have. So with Gerber, you've got your project goals. I mean, this is really clean. I do like the fact that you've expanded this. We talked about this last time. How it was kind of clustered in the middle, and you hadn't really pushed forward with that design. I like it that you based on the feedback given last time, you've expanded these. This kind of gives us a picture into the thought process and like what where you're trying to go. So here you've mapped your goals. Again, it's often about zooming in on these areas to get a better idea of. I don't necessarily need to know the exacts. What I'm trying to do is understand how you were using this artifact that you're showing me. So this is project planning. Here, you had that one big document. It was like the entire page, but this stuff was all really small. Now you're going through it, kind of explaining what these notes are, and apparently these were different concepts that you had to work through, which is nice. So this is where they were before. I don't necessarily know if so I see before. I think this is after. Not completely certain. I mean, just like saying after as a label would be beneficial. Looks like after. I mean, the color schemes have all changed. Navigation's basically the same, but just it feels after. Surfacing nutrition, providing reassurance, uncovering new product experiences, outcomes. Okay, so this is going to launch. So this is Burt's Bees, different project, snapshot, similar style, the problem, figuring out what you're aiming, what your process was, identifying. So path analysis is really important. Where are people dropping off? After 3 clicks, the consumer still hasn't gotten to a product, so it's like they're still kind of hunting around, which, you know, does that mean that it's a failure if they haven't gotten there in 3 clicks? No, but they shouldn't feel like they're still like they shouldn't feel like they still don't know what to do. Um, and it says here 86% of 86% of website traffic is looking for a specific product or products within a specific category. So it's like they're coming in, they have an idea what they're trying to do, and they haven't gotten to it. Drop-offs increase 16 to 24K after 4th event. So I mean, this is a lot of really good detail, kind of explaining how this explains how well you know the issue. All right, it doesn't explain how you're solving the issue, but you understand the issue, and that's really key. As we come down, this was I'm not sure if the PDF crapped out on you, but it seems weird. I mean, I don't know. I really think that that's just missing. So keep an eye out for that. Articulating Northstar design principles. So these are like the big things, like for us to be successful, this must happen. Find the right information source. So are we gonna drill down? Are we gonna go through top level modules? So the trouble here is like you have to you basically, if what you're trying to get to is here, you have to go through all these extra steps. The trouble here is if you discover here that where you really need to be is down here, there's no way to move laterally. You have to go all the way back out and then all the way back in. So the taxonomy there is they're different, okay, but it just depends on. It really depends on, can you structure your site in such a way that helps put the right thing in front of people before they need it. So I understand what you're getting at there. Oh, hey, look, the superhero is here, or the super nav is here. Insights, solution, super nav with categories, mobile solution using the hamburger that everybody says they hate but ends up coming back to because it's really necessary. Outcomes. This is the key. When you have data, you have to lean on the data, okay? And just dawned on me. 1 second. Oh, yeah, we're fine. Thought the mic was off for a second. When you have data like this, this is exactly how you sell what you do to the next client that's coming down the stream. I was speaking with somebody this weekend. They do Instagram stories better than anybody else, and they took their publication from X to X, and let's say it took them from 5 to 15. Okay, 5 to 15, they doubled. Okay, it tripled the audience, but they doubled in size. Okay, 5 to 15, up by 1 million. Yet that wasn't in their case study, or it wasn't in their site. It wasn't in how they pitched themselves. It's like it was something that they mentioned, but it wasn't so when I see this is the key, okay? Page views up 47%, bounce rate down. That's magic, okay? That's printing money. Those are metrics that matter. So skills and tools, other things, a brief hello. The thing that's interesting about the brief hello is a brief hello feels like I'm saying hi. This is like introducing yourself at the very end, So I would switch this, and it's just about the phrase, a brief hello. I would say about the author, okay, about Maddie. Um, the the a brief hello at the end is weird, for me, but also weird is burying this. I get outcomes, okay. Now it's tough because it's tough to hold on to this and say, oh, I'm just going to throw this to the top. It has to be in context of, well, what is this an outcome for? So you kind of have to say, um, I make, I know how to break down problems and move the metrics. Case in point, for Burt's Bees, we made adjustments to the UX and increased page views 48%. Okay? That's a metric you can get behind. That's something we lowered the bounce rate 14%. That's a metric you can get behind. Okay? But you've got to get that out there, and you cannot wait for somebody to get all the way down to the bottom to point that out to them. Okay? So that's my take on it. I know there's a lot to unpack in there, but I definitely want to make sure that I mention that adjustment. And it comes to when you're presenting your work. If you've got a minute, you got to get that thing up there really high so they don't miss it. Finally, I want to end up talking about Bren. Bren, you've got a number of things here, and I'm going to come back. The one thing that I wanted to point out was we were talking about, we went back and forth on your journal this weekend, and we were talking specifically about the systems around that cashless store. And on one hand, you have the social issue. Right? The social issue is you can't discriminate against people that do not have access to pay with something other than cash. I mean, if cash is legal tender, you have to accept that. That's just one of the rules. You have to accept legal tender. And if they have a legal tender and they don't have a smartphone, you shouldn't be able to shut them down. So they have to figure out the store itself. In certain jurisdictions like Wisconsin, they've ruled these stores out. You cannot put a cashless store in Wisconsin until you solve for the fact that not everybody has a smartphone and a bank account and a whatever. You have to accept legal tender. But the other issue, the issue that happened in this particular instance, was internet connectivity. The store was put into a dead zone. No internet connectivity. So if there's no internet connectivity, how does a cashless store, which requires your smartphone to, beep beep, to indicate that you've entered the store, you've picked up things, or you've scanned the barcode, like, how does that even work if you don't have connectivity? So you picked up on it here. That's why I pushed back, because suppliers, inventory, logistics, all key, but I got to be honest with you, if there's no connectivity, none of it works. All right? Now, what's interesting is it was one particular service that wasn't working. So, like, this is something you find a lot of times. AT&T works great here, but Verizon not so much. So that means that the scouts that went to this place to set up the store likely had service. It was a blind spot. They had service, but you might not. So how do we solve for it? Well, it's obvious. You put Wi-Fi in. Okay, well, that inserts another hurdle. All right, you can have Wi-Fi, but what sort of protections do you put around it? Do you just let anybody have it? Do you put signage up which says, here's the passcode? Like, how do you get people? And then that inserts a hurdle. Like, oh gosh, now I have to set up a new Wi-Fi. But once you set up once, you never have to set it up again because your phone remembers, typically. So there's all these things about the system that inserted an issue there. Long story short, you nailed it, but we weren't zooming out far enough. And systems are gnarly things that oftentimes we find ourselves having to build around. We have to build solutions around the system because we can't control the system itself. And the faster that we can get into the habit of recognizing that, the better the solutions that you'll create will be. And frankly, the less likely you're going to walk into a blind spot, because you're going to be zoomed out far enough to say, okay, what am I not seeing? And we talk about this later in the program, the known unknowns. What are the things that I don't know yet? What are the things that I am aware are blind spots? You might not know the answer to them yet, but you know that you don't know enough about it. In discovering the known unknowns, that's the thing we're going to get in. You're going to get into specifically in the UX program, especially when you are diving into your first surveys, which Abby is about to do now. Oddly enough, we're about to start our call. Diving into those known unknowns, you identify what you don't know, and then you go seek it out. Okay, and systems, great place to make that first discovery. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Hope this was helpful for you. It certainly was helpful for me, and I look forward to chatting with the rest of you throughout the week ahead. Take care.